Hey, thanks for joining me today. We're going to make a dessert from Lydia, Portugal. This is an area that's halfway between Lisbon and Porto. It's a little castle town, and they have a famous convent dessert called Brisas de Liege. Brisas de Liege is another example of famous desserts in Portugal that are called convent or conventual desserts. They're desserts that were made in monasteries or convents. It began around the 15th century when Portugal started getting a lot of sugar from its island of Madeira and from its colony Brazil. Some examples of those desserts that I have videos of, pudim abad de priscos is one, and then of course the famous pastéis de nata. This particular dessert was developed in the convent of Santana, which in 1916 was actually demolished. So now if you go to that town, there's a market where that convent used to be, but the town is still famous for these desserts. I'll put a link to this article that I found that talks all about the convent desserts or the conventual desserts of Portugal. It's a pretty interesting read if you want to check it out. So let's start this recipe. Separate the egg whites. For this recipe, we're going to use 10 eggs in total, but we're going to use 7 egg yolks and 3 whole eggs. In the meantime, I'm going to butter my tin. These are the same ones I use for pastéis de nata, these little tins. After we butter it, we'll put sugar on it. You want to have these all buttered up ahead of time. And then you just want to put a little bit of sugar inside the mold. Put another one on top. And just kind of shake them together. And that's it. You're ready to go to the next one. Now we're going to melt our sugar. So I'll put in a 1/4 cup of water. Put in the sugar. And just kind of leave it alone and let it start to boil. It comes to a boil, let it boil for an additional 2 minutes, like at a pretty low boil, like you can turn down the heat once it starts to boil, then let it go an additional 2 minutes, and that'll get you pretty close to that stage. Okay, it's been boiling for about 3 minutes. It's at 220, 225, 227. So the sugar is ready. Once you take off your sugar, let it cool down for like 5 minutes. You don't want to put it scalding hot in your egg mixture. Okay, now we're going to combine some of our ingredients here. I have a ground up almond flour. Now I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, egg yolks, whole eggs, and you want to incorporate this well. I put a little wet towel around here to keep this a little more stable. Now I'm going to mix the sugar mixture into the almond egg mixture. And you want to kind of go slow at first, just in case your syrup's still a little too hot. If you put the hot sugar in all in at once and the sugar was too hot, you could start to cook the eggs prematurely. This is what they call tempering the eggs. So you want to make sure at this point your oven is preheated to 360 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 182 degrees Celsius. Then we'll put it in a container that's easy to pour the mixture into the small ramekins. I have a couple, just 2 of these silicone little cups. I wanted to give those a try. If you've had this sit for a while you're preparing something else, give it a little stir before you fill up the ramekins. And you almost want to go to the top, maybe just like a couple millimeters from the top. With the size of my little tins, I made about 15 servings. And my bain-marie water is warm. You want it to come almost halfway to your dish, but I only fill it up a little bit in the beginning to make it easier to take to the oven. Then once I get it to the oven, I'll pour in some more hot water. I just find it makes it a little easier to handle. And the water, why you use a banho-maria is because water cannot get above 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So by doing this, all the heat around the metal is a very even temperature and allows for very even cooking. Now I'm going to add some more water to the pan to bring the level up a bit. And now it'll take about 20 minutes to 30 minutes to cook. So here's a picture of how they look after about 12 minutes. You can see there's no color to them. They should be a golden color on top and pretty firm to the touch. And the internal temperature should be, if you have a thermometer, about 175 degrees Fahrenheit. After about 25 minutes, you can see a nice golden color on top, and the internal temperature, I just took it, is about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I put these in the refrigerator for just about 7 to 10 minutes. You want them cooled down, but not ice cold, because then If they're cold, they kind of want to stick to the tin a little more. So you just kind of put them in there. Oh, look at that, huh? Beautiful. And you could use either blanched ground almond flour or what they call natural almond flour that's ground from whole almonds, so it has the outer skin on it too. If you use whole almond flour like I did in this recipe, you'll see that the pastries could be a little darker on the bottom. That's just the darkness of the almond flour. Or if you want the base to be lighter, you could use the blanched almond flour. And now you can make Brisas du Liege. Go out, go cook with someone you love.